The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Fantasy. Sign the promo code SGPN to get 50% deposit bonus up to $1K. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football in the NFL with Rhythm. Get a 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgambling.com. Just RITHMM. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday morning, roughly 1:30 a.m. Eastern Time on October 26th. I'm your host, always, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Should be a fun episode. It is time to get into the semifinals in Basel and in Vienna. So we're going to preview those four matches for Saturday's card in a second. For that, though, doing a recap what happened in the last episode. Unfortunately, not a good episode for the lock and dog picks. One of those days where everything was going right early, and then the plays you needed to go right didn't go right. So either way, point is picked up a loss with the lock at Berrettini team total over 13 at minus 120. I know I accidentally wrote under in the actual show, and then I had to fix it, but I meant the over 13. Didn't get there as Berrettini got kind of smacked, especially in the first set. Then he looked better in the second set, had a chance to make it interesting, could not convert, then he got broken immediately, and then he had a couple break chances to get back to even, did not convert those as he eventually lost 6-4 in the second set. So not close there as Berrettini got destroyed. For the dog, though, kind of unfortunate. We had Mensik money line at plus 115, won the first set, had a couple break points to start the second set, did not convert those, and then once that happened, Dimmenauer kind of took over as Mensik had 0 break points in basically the last 2 sets. Said before that Mensik had a chance to go up a set and a break. Didn't get it done, though, and you saw Dimmenauer kind of take over as the match went on. So picked up a loss there for the lock and dog picks. Before we get into the actual recap of the other matches for Friday, do remind me once again that you can show support for the show by liking and subscribing on YouTube. And a reminder that you can also show support by going to Spotify or Apple and leaving a rating and a review. So please do so. Goes a long way. Please do some feedback for the show. Plus, a reminder, check out the merch store on the SGPN website. A lot of great Tennis Gambling Podcast merch. We have sweatshirts, t-shirts, and mugs, all high quality, all affordable. So recommend getting yourself something. Different colors as well for the actual shirts. So once again, if you do want to find something on the merch store, not just for the tennis show, but for the other shows with the network, please check it out. I think you'll find a lot that you might like that we have to offer. Plus, a reminder for the actual... just a reminder, you can also, once again, leave a rating and review on Spotify for this podcast, the Tennis Gambling Podcast, or even the MLB Gambling Podcast, the NBA Gambling Podcast, etc. Point is, all the shows, or most of the shows on the network, are available on this platform. So if you can, please leave a rating and a review. If you want to show support to the network, a reminder that only you can help prevent corporate gambling from taking over. Anyway, starting off with the actual recap of the Friday matches. Going through the first one, going to do Basel first. Fees got the job done against Tsitsipas. I thought it'd be a coin flip match. It was early. Then Tsitsipas blinked, and Fees got the job done again. Classic Tsitsipas never changed. Another year of being underwhelming. Besides that, you saw Shelton beat Rublev. Big for us because we have Shelton to win the tournament, and on top of that, we ended up liking the over or I should say we liked Shelton money line at plus 110 for that one, as the match was a marathon, but Shelton eventually outlasted Rublev. Pretty much the same script for every single Rublev loss. Looks pretty good, fails some big points, ends up smacking himself in the head with the racket, yells to his coaches, falls apart. Am I missing something? That feels like the pretty, I'd say, carbon copy that we get from Rublev losses in all these matches. And we saw it again as Shelton got the job done. Ended up fighting off some, I'd say, high-pressure moments. Rublev did not, and then Shelton got the break and eventually held to win 6-4 in the final set. Thought Rune was going to destroy Goffin, and he did. That was a bloodbath. 6-2, 6-4, never in doubt. And then Perricard got the job done against Shapo in 3 sets. I did like the over in that one that got there, and Perricard got the job done as he did not get broken again. 0 breaks that he's had to actually deal with for the entire tournament. I don't know how you break him on these damn courts. He's just too good at serving. Feels like every server is going 145 plus. I think he hit 150 a couple times. 27 aces. I don't know what you're supposed to do trying to return him, but either way, point is nice win for Perricard, and that is going to be a pretty, I'd say, fun set of semifinal matches because you have Shelton against Fees and Rune against Perricard. Should be fun, and hopefully those matches are competitive like most of the matches were for the actual Friday slate. Moving on to Vienna. And so we thought that Draper would end up beating Makic. He did. That was a marathon, but Draper did win in 3, so called that one right to a T. Was wrong about Zverev. I thought he beat Musetti, did not get the job done. A weird moment in that match, though, where one ball was insanely long by Zverev, and then Musetti had to stop play because the Hawkeye broke, And he was right. The ball is out by about 20 feet. So we did see that happen to Fritz a couple weeks ago, and it seems like players have learned how to handle the situation. If the automatic line calling is incorrect or just doesn't make a call, you should stop play and let them figure it out. And he was right. As he stopped play, got the point, eventually won the breaker, and got the job done in the third set. So nice win there, comeback-wise by Musetti. Zverev once again underachieving, unfortunate. Khachanov beat Berrettini, good for him, 6-1, 6-4. Nothing else to really add. Khachanov dominated from start to finish, and he got the job done pretty convincingly. And for the last match, Mensik won the first set via breaker, then de Minaur kind of took over, and that was the end of the actual card for Friday. So once again, not that much drama. You had a final set breaker in the Pericard match. That breaker was decided pretty early, though, because Pericard went up a lot early, just based on how well he was serving. And besides that, you saw 3 3-setters out of the 4 matches in Vienna, and you saw 2 3-setters in Basel. So the intensity kind of ramped up, decent amount of breakers, and hopefully we'll see some competitive tennis here once again on Saturday. Before we get into the actual matches for Saturday, want to remember once again that we are brought to Mark Fantasy because they have a lot of great items on their pick-a menu. They have the NFL, college football, MLB, MMA, NASCAR, NBA, tennis, and more. Boosttober's upon us, which means you get a spooky amount of profit boost and much more. And a reminder, with the NBA tipping off, every NBA pick'em entry from the 19th to the 27th, so you have one more day to actually do this. Every pick'em entry in the NBA will be boosted. You can use specials and boost on Netflix entries. And for the upcoming, I'd say, card, for this one, what do I want to do? Do I want to go to baseball or do I want to go with something, I'd say, a little bit more out there? I think for this one, I am going to go with bases for this one. I'm going to go with Ohtani. I'll go with Ohtani higher walk in game 2. Rodon's pitching. I think Ohtani will get on base via walk at least one time. So I'll go with the higher on Ohtani walk for this one. A reminder, though, when you do sign up, use the promo code SGPN to claim special confirmed time deposit offer up to $1K in bonus cash on a fantasy promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Just finished recapping what happened on Friday. Time to keep it rolling with the matches for Saturday. Starting off with the semifinal matches in Basel. For this one, fun overall card. A first match should be a pretty unpredictable one because you have Fees against Shelton. Basically a coin flip. Shelton's minus 115. Fees is minus 105. For the spread, minus a half a game for Shelton. You have plus a half for Fees. Over-under in games around 24.5. For the over 2.5 sets, around plus 125 or plus 120. For the actual set spread, you have Shelton in straight sets at plus 225, Fees to win in straight sets at plus 240. Now, for the head-to-head for both guys, it's tied 1-1. Faced off in Tokyo a couple weeks ago, Fees won in 3. Faced off in the Laver Cup last year, Shelton won in straight sets. In the event so far, Fees has been very solid. He's not dropped a set yet, beat Tsitsipas in straight sets, beat Martinez in straight sets, and beat Altmaier in straight sets. As for Shelton, he had a marathon against Rublev in the last round, beat Wawrinka in straight sets, and beat Echeverry in straight sets. Now, for the actual speed of the courts, the benefit Shelton. Of course, I have Shelton to win the event, so hopefully he gets the job done here. But I do think it's going to be a close matchup. We saw them face off a couple weeks ago in Tokyo, and that was an absolute war. I see a pretty similar story here. I'm going to go over on this one at around 24.5. I don't mind the over 2.5 sets. I think you're looking at what should be a couple of marathon sets at minimum, probably 2, maybe 3. But I don't mind the team total over for both players. I think I would lean to Shelton, or I would go with Shelton for this one, just based on Shelton's overall serving ability, and that will give him an edge on the courts here in Basel. But Shelton's been good so far in the event. We saw him beat Rublev, a top 10 guy. Yes, he has been in bad form lately, but that was a tough match. Shelton served well, and I do think that Shelton is right now in, I'd say, slightly better form. You could argue that it's pretty even, but I am going to go with the favorite here at minus 115. I prefer the over, though. Give me a competitive matchup that should feature at least 1, maybe 2 breakers, and give me, once again, a lot of drama over the course of this match. Moving on to the next matchup, you have Rune against Pericard. Pretty big favorite on the card, as Rune is around minus 325. Pericard's around plus 270. For the game spread, you have minus 3 or minus 2.5 for Rune. You have plus 3 for Pericard at around minus 125. For the over-under, you have around 23.5 games. The over is minus 105. The under is minus 115. For the set spread, you have Pericard to win a set at a minus 105. Rune to win in straight sets at minus 125. The over 2.5 sets is a plus 160. So for this one, first glance, got to go with the over in this one. Don't mind the team total over for Rune. I see a 12.5 at like minus 150. I think that plays pretty appealing. Pericard, despite being a massive dog here, has been broken 0 times in the entire tournament. 0. So I got to go with the over because I think that you're looking at a guy who's been serving absolute bombs. Perricard indoors, I don't know how you ever break the guy because you're looking at a serve being around like 145 and he could push 150. I know Rune is a great returner and I know that he has been playing well in the event here, but Perricard is just volleyball spiking every serve. I gotta like the over. I see Uneducated asking if I like the over in aces. I do. I mean, Perricard's aces have been wild over the entire event. To go through those, if you want a potential prop bet, Perricard in the matches so far had 27 against Shelton in that 3-setter. So that one was a pretty solid serving performance. Yes, he had the extra set, but 27 kind of speaks for itself. The match against Felix, which was a straight set win for Perricard, he had a casual 22. And his first match against, looking at his first match that he had against Duckworth, in that one, he had 21. So he's had 21 plus aces in every match here. I gotta like the over in aces. I mean, he's volleyball spiking. He's basically the new Isner, if you want to call him that. I don't know how you ever break the guy on the courts here in Basel, which are very fast paced. Rene's a good returner. I get it. But the speed of the serves here and the fact that he can actually volley behind it is very, I'd say, dangerous, and opponents can't really handle it. He might just take the racket out of Rune's hands in a lot of these return games. So give me the over in this one. I think Perricard's alive, actually. I think Rune's probably going to win. But 270 is a massive price for a guy that's just holding every single time. And I think you're looking at what should be a very back-and-forth matchup, not based on potential breakpoints, but based on waiting for the tiebreaker to play out. Rene's a good tiebreaker player. I acknowledge it. But plus 270 is massive. I got to go with the dog here. I don't mind the over 2.5 sets at around plus 160. If you want Perricard to win a set at minus 105, I don't hate it. I see that being brought up by T Loading. My counterpoint would be, if I think Rune is not going to lose in straight sets, then I'd rather take the over 2.5 sets at plus 160 than Perricard to win a set at minus 105. You get a much better price if you're picking a 3-setter, so I'll go with that instead for the value play if I had to pick it out. But for this one, give me the dog. I see value here. I don't mind the plus 3. If you're picking a tiebreak in the match, then you are expecting at least one set to be up in the air, and you think Perricard has a shot to at least make it interesting. I do. I think Rune is going to win, but I think it's going to be close. Give me a breaker, maybe 2 of them, and give me the over. I see a very fun match that should come down to the wire, featuring a lot of really solid serving. Moving on to the matches in Vienna for Saturday. Starting off the first matchup, you have Draper against Musetti. Draper's around minus 250. You have Musetti at around plus 210. For the spread, minus 3 for Draper, plus 3 for Musetti. For the over-under in games, you have around 22.5. For the set spread, you have Musetti to win a set at minus 135. Draper to win in straight sets at plus 105. And for the Musetti to win in straight sets, that's available at plus 425. The over 2.5 sets is plus 145. So you're looking at what should be a fun matchup on paper, as Musetti is a solid player in general. We've seen him look very sharp, especially over the last couple months. However, we know hard court is not his best surface, and he was able to beat Zverev, though, so he has been getting better on the surface. But Draper has owned him in the head-to-head, as Draper is currently 3-0 lifetime. Draper has won every single meeting, and he ended up only having faced Musetti in 5 hard court sets. 3 of them were next-gen final stuff, which is first to 4, so kind of BS. Point is, though, Draper has not dropped a set on hard court to Musetti in their careers. And if you want to include the Wimbledon juniors that they faced off in 2018, Draper has won 7 straight sets against Musetti. So I understand why the line is so big. Do I want to lay 250? Absolutely not. I think Musetti can make this interesting. I think Musetti has been one of the most improved players on tour over the course of the season. Yes, I know Draper has been in great form. Ended up beating the likes of Nishikori, beat Darderi, and beat Makic in 3. He's played well. I'm aware of it. But I think that there's a bit I'd say there's a little bit of disrespect here towards Musetti based on the price. I'd have Draper at like minus 180. 250 is kind of wild. I'll go with the dog here for the value. I like the over in this one. I think it might be a close matchup. The over 2.5 sets is interesting at plus 145, but they're expecting Draper to kill this guy. I don't know if I agree. We saw Musetti handle adversity, beating Zverev, who is a former U.S. Open finalist a couple years ago. Zverev's a good hardcourt player, and we saw Musetti outlast him. The price feels very disrespectful. I'll go with the dog here. I think this price is off. So even though I think Draper's going to win, and even though we have him to win the event, so we're rooting for Draper to win the actual match here, the price feels off to me. So for value, give me the over, and I'll go with the dog in this one. Moving on to the last matchup, you have Dimonauer against Khachanov. Dimonauer's minus 140, Khachanov plus 120. For the over-under, you have around 22.5 games or 23.5. For the spread, minus 1.5 games for Dimonauer, plus 1.5 for Khachanov. For the set spread, you have Khachanov to win a set at around Khachanov to win ace sets minus 240. Draper to win in straight sets is Dimonauer to win in straight sets is plus 190. And Khachanov to win in straight sets is plus 275. The over 2.5 sets is around plus 120. Now, for the head-to-head, it's actually tied. As you saw, Khachanov win the last meeting. It was dated, though. Beat him in Dubai in 3 sets. Face-off in the U.S. Open, though, back in 2020, and Dimonauer did win that one in 5. Would have lost if it was 3 sets, as he was down 2 sets to 1. In the event so far, Dimonauer has been fine. Not looked dominant by any means, but he has looked better than he did in Antwerp. Beat Struff in 3, beat Caboli in a set and a half, and that ended up resulting in a retirement. And he beat Mensik after dropping the first set, winning that one in 3. As for Khachanov, he's been good. We saw him win the title in Almaty, and he's been carrying that over. Beat Seabold Wild in straight sets, beat Nakashima in 3 sets, and beat Berrettini comfortably 6-1, 6-4. So for the actual price, do I agree with Dimonauer being minus 140? I do not. I think Khachanov looked like the better player so far in the event. And yes, we saw Dimonauer look better as the match went on against Mensik. Kind of been a common theme for him so far in the last week and a half. He's been bad in first sets, and he's been able to come from behind to win in 3. But I think you're looking at a guy in Khachanov who's playing great tennis, best tennis of his overall season, winning a title and carrying that over. Once again, beating Berrettini on some of the fastest courts on the entire tour with a no-breaker, with multiple breaks of serve is insanely impressive. I think Khachanov been returning very well. The serve has been fine. I really think that you're looking at a spot where Dimonauer is being priced, you could argue fairly based on how he's played lately, but I still don't trust him to fully, I'd say, get the job done here because he has been dropping sets. He's been dropping the first set in particular frequently over the last couple of matches. So I think that Khachanov has been playing very well. And I think you're looking at a spot where Khachanov has just been playing great tennis. Dimonauer might win. I see a marathon, though. 140 feels pretty high to me. I mean, Khachanov beat him in the last meeting. He had a 5-setter against Dimonauer in the U.S. Open a couple years ago, but Dimonauer's been dropping some sets, and we have seen Khachanov look sharp so far in this event. I really think this price is off at 140. Don't mind the over at 22.5 games. Don't mind the over team total for both guys. But I see a marathon. And I find it a bit weird that the over 2.5 sets is plus 110 on offshore, but over 22.5 games is minus 130. Just give me the games instead. I'll sacrifice 40 cents for a potential breaker and a 6-4 in there. So give me the over and give me Khachanov. I think the dog's pretty live in that one. That's going to wrap it up, though, for the actual matches. And now it's time for the lock and dog picks. But I want to remember once again, before we do that we are brought to you by, just to go through an order here, we're brought to you by BetUS because BetUS is one of the best books around. Been around for more than 30 years. You can use the deposit in crypto and go ahead and fast payouts. U.S. players are always welcome. And a reminder, they have a special for Halloween. They are live with their Trick or Treat on Horror Street. From now until Halloween, BetUS will be offering daily promotions, a raffle entry to win a sports or casino prize pack, and they'll also be giving away any of that from I should say on October 31st. So you still have 5 days to register. Keep that in mind. 5 days from now, they will be doing that type of raffle. And a reminder, you can enter multiple times. Every $200 deposit gets you 1 entry. And a reminder, you can also use the link, sportsgamepodcast.com/BetUS, sportsgamepodcast.com/BetUS, promo code SGPN, and we send you BetUS, America's favorite sportsbook. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. SGPN's proud partner, Rhythm, is the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform that provide bettors of all levels the ability to build custom models and predictions in seconds. Get predictions on money lines, spreads, totals, and props. Build your own model. Copy one of the top performing models in the leaderboard, or press build a model for me. Rhythm will give you predictions on every game and player props. Bunch of stats as well, bunch of research and trend analysis to give you more betting insight. And a reminder that you can also try it out for free. Set it in free trial today by going to sportsgames.com Rhythm, sportsgames.com, RITHMM. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Just finished previewing the Saturday matches in Basel and in Vienna. Now it's time for the lock and dog picks. For the lock, I am going to go to a matchup in Basel between Perricard and Rune. For this one, give me the team total. I see DraftKings went rogue. I'll take it. Give me the Rune team total over 12.5 games at minus 150. It was minus 140 right before I went live, but it did move to 150, so I'll take it now with the adjusted line. 12.5 is a really bad line. Shopping around, most books have 13.5, and the main reason because Perricard can't be broken. Perricard has been broken 0 times in the entire event, and Rune is minus 375 or 345. So the point is Rune is a massive favorite, and yet nobody can break this guy because Perricard's serving 140 like it's nobody's business. And you're looking at what I think should be at least one breaker or at least 175. You're looking at Perricard having at least one tiebreak in 5 straight matches. So we know that he is a tiebreaker machine. Rune has had a couple of long sets here as he has gone over this team total in 2 of the first 3 matches in the event. So based on Perricard's great serving and based on how big of a favorite Rune is, I see it at least 175 or 76, maybe a 3-setter potentially, and you have a decent chance. But if you're expecting at least one potential tiebreak or 175, then the team total is kind of an auto play because you're getting a massive favorite and he could still win or lose in theory, getting to at least one breaker or 175, and you can still get there if he loses. So I like the built-in insurance there, but I'm expecting at least one competitive set that goes to a breaker, probably 2, honestly. Perricard's been serving like a machine. So give me Rune, team total over 12.5 at minus 150 on DraftKings, my lock. For my dog, I am going to go to the last match between Khachanov and de Minaur. For this one, give me the first set. I'll go with Khachanov first set money line at plus 110. Khachanov has been good lately, early in matches. He has won the first set in 5 of his last 7 matches. And we saw de Minaur struggle again in the first set in the match on Friday. He's lost the first set in 5 of his last 6. We saw him lose the first set to Mensik in the last match. We saw him drop the first set to Struff in this tournament as well. The only guy actually beat in the first set was Kaboli, who retired later in the second set. So against non-injured players, de Minaur's lost 5 straight first sets. So I do think that Khachanov can get off to a good start. De Minaur's been kind of slow to start, then he's been able to pick it up as the match has gone on. But based on the trends, with him losing the first set in 5 of 6, Khachanov winning the first set in 5 of 7, and once again, it being plus money, I like the deal a lot. I think it's a great price, and I'm going to go with that as my dog. So once again, for the lock, I am going to go with Rune. Team total over 12.5 games at minus 150 on DraftKings. For the dog, give me Khachanov first set money line at plus 110. That's going to wrap it up for this episode. You can find me on Twitter at Reichel Radio. Find me on the NBA show. Find me on the WNBA show. Of course, it is the offseason, but still. And find me on the MLB show as well. We're going to cover the final in Basel and Vienna in the next episode. A reminder, though, please like and subscribe on YouTube. Please have a rating and review on Spotify or Apple. And once again, check out the merch store for the Tennis Gambling Podcast. Check in the comment section quickly, seeing what I have here. People are scared of Rune. I get it. He's a lunatic. Like, you don't have to convince me and Rich. I know that Rune is a psychopath, but I think for the sake of the team total, he can still lose. Like, Rune can, in theory, lose a marathon 3, and that way the money line price, the massive price, ends up losing, but you still win. 12.5 for a massive favorite when you're basically, I don't want to say guaranteed a tie break, but you feel really good about your chances of a 7-5 or 7-6, at least one set. It's kind of an auto play. 12.5 is just a really bad line, and I got to take it before it moves. There's no chance it's closing at 12.5 minus 150. I got to go with it. That price for me is just too good to pass up. Anyway, that's going to wrap it up. Until next time, good luck to all of you and all of your bets. Bye, everyone.